I cannot see them making any run deeper than lower quarterfinals. Like, it's just very hard for me to imagine Sentinels making this crazy deep run unless Shroud is as good as he was back in CS, and this man is just hot all over. So
it's really, really exciting to see 100 Thieves as like I like them as like a punishing team. They will punish the way you play, no matter if it's aggressive, if it's passive. They will read you and they will figure it out. We saw that time and time again.
Welcome to another episode of Valoranting, and yes, once again, I am your host for this week. It is Vansilli. We are also not really in club quarantine, but you know, I got to reminisce a little bit of the 2020. Something that's new though is we actually have two new members going on the show today. First one, actually, let's be a gentleman here. We're going to introduce Liz from theScore Esports. Elisabeth, or would you rather go by Liz here, Marchini.
Liz, please. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us on a very last minute occasion. So hopefully you're going to have a good show. This is live. And then we're just going to grill you if things are not going well.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Of course.
Awesome. Second one is it's gonna be Sully. Sully is basically my esports son, as you could tell. Sully, you've been working on Valorant ever since it came out. How's it going for you today? Welcome to the show as well.
yeah, you know, I hate doing shows, like just broadcast shows in general, because my back it gets so sweaty, and like I'm sitting in this leather chair. I'm mad uncomfortable, but I'm super excited to be on the show for once.
This man's getting free stuff from the VCT and Riot, and he's already complaining about it. It's all good. Esports father, I'll look out for you, Sully. But with that, though, one thing that does stay consistent these days is also the support that we have from Twitch. So Twitch has been helping us, you know, putting some funding in to make sure that this show's possible. So thank you so much for Twitch for hanging out and helping us out. You can find us every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/DNPeak. And while we're at it, let's get into the topics of Valoranting for this week. Kicking things off here is we've had some changes within the PBE. And usually what happens in the PBE usually goes live. And I think the biggest topic right now is the chamber nerfs. So that said, you know, there's an article that came out on playvalorant.com. Jeff Landa here tweets that out as well. There's been a couple of changes in terms of like the radius that that chamber currently has on the TP. And also we're rewarding the cooldown on breaking the rendezvous points when you spot that rendezvous point for chamber, the cooldown's actually longer. I think even at 45 seconds once it gets broken. So state of the game, where do you think this is going now with the chamber changes? Is it going to be picked a little bit more here, Elisabeth? Or Liz, sorry.
You're all good. I think this is something I've been praying for at night. Like I going to bed and I'm just like, come on, Riot, like tonight's gonna be the day. And I am glad that steps were made. I think I'm always a big fan of like when any hero game, you should be able to have variety and you're able to choose. I think chamber became a must pick, which I was like, you know, not the best thing, but it is what it is. And I think the changes are good. I'm excited to see how they'll play out, specifically in pro play, and also my games because I'm self-centered. But I think this is a great necessary step, specifically the TP changes. I think that's one of my biggest gripes with him is even no matter how annoying the trip was, the TP was always too strong and just it was OP for especially considering how other characters are moving or their movement abilities. So I am super excited to see these changes in, and I honestly maybe looking forward to a little bit more. Maybe.
Yeah. Even then, because the changes, you know, you said, Liz, that it's a must pick to have chambers in your comp these days. But with these changes, Sully, do you think it's gonna be we're gonna see less chambers or no differences, or do the changes are the changes too hard?
Yeah, no, so I was watching some VODs, you know, doing my thing, like doing my little digging preparation, right? So I'm like, okay, these chamber nerfs, right? What is it actually gonna do? And I think first of all, the teams that are using chamber, they more than likely aren't going to phase out chamber. But for teams that haven't been using chamber, and like I think in particular, like Breeze is one of the maps where chamber isn't absolutely required. Like some teams play Cypher there instead. I think those teams are really not going to be affected too much. So I think obviously the nerfs are like very minimal in the sense that you can't get as aggressive, but the best it's kind of like the Jet nerfs, right? It was like, oh my god, this is going to destroy like the competitive play. But in pro play, it's like, okay, the best Jets will still be able to find the exact same value out of Jet. And so that's why I think chamber is going to be, it's like like players like Ye are going to be able to still find that crazy impact with aggressive opping angles and whatnot. But just in general, I don't think many comp changes going to happen just because it's not really that big of a deal. The only thing that I see that's kind of big in terms of besides the aggressive opping angles is probably the slow delay, which I'm super grateful for because I hate it when I'm playing comp games and there's a fucking chamber that just shoots one tour to force shot and my whole push gets slowed down because that shit lasts like an eternity. So that's probably like the minimal changes that I think are going to happen where maybe we might see less chamber play in terms of, okay, maybe we pick up a Cypher instead. But other than that, I don't think many teams are going to change too much.
Yeah. At least the chamber changes are not going to happen with the upcoming LCQs. We potentially might be able to see it during the Champions and also the later events that'll be now announced, actually, as the Ignition Series are set to return following Champions. So that's during the downtime of October till December. We're going to have a rename of the Ignition Series as well. We don't really know what the name's going to be, but at least that's the good part of any pro team that doesn't have anything going on in their calendar until 2023. At least we have something similar to the earlier Ignition Series that is going to make a comeback. But let's switch gears a little bit. We talked about some fun stuff in Chambers and what's coming. And now let's talk about things that happened. And it's time to go into drama. It's going into here the Valorant's Astral Cup. So basically Team Fallacy versus Gen G, because we say Gen G because it's basically Generation G that is running the Astral Cup. And this is one clip that talks about it a little bit. We'll give you a little bit of context as a TLDR. There's been a player that has been accused of having somebody share their account so that they could go into qualifying into LAN following the Astral Cup online. And there's been a couple of things that came out, including like the bind changes where there's the original player has a different bind for the Owl Drone, and then the person that's currently clutching has it as a C bind instead of the F bind. And as you could see here during the texts, or within the text, the person accused is going to be Payin, that's been playing on his girlfriend's account going into that. And there's other things from like the minimap to the FPS. Lots. It's like a tweet longer. And I want to know, basically, to start things off, Liz, your thoughts on this. Do you think most of it is factual? Can we believe into this type of accusations? What's going on so far here?
I'm gonna leave the factuality to the investigators because I definitely don't want to rush any conclusions. I think if it is true, this like allegedly this did happen, it's incredibly disappointing. You know, these are supposed to be spaces for marginalized genders for us to feel safe and to play in and to grow. And if this happened, that literally is not the purpose of the space. And it's disappointing because also then you get into like just people making fun of the scene and saying it's not, you know, not worth it. And it's just it's so frustrating to you know, kind of constantly fight for legitimacy and respect and then have things like this happen if it did happen. It's disheartening for a little bit because I am stubborn and I will not stop supporting marginalized gender scenes. So,
I agree. I'm with you on that. And as you mentioned here, Liz, the investigation is ongoing, right? It's been escalated over to Riot, but that said, Gen G and Astral Clash, still ended up disqualifying Team Fallacy so that team like NV8 is able to go and play on LAN with the upcoming tournament. So, Sully, do you think that it's justifiable that, you know, despite there's still an ongoing investigation, that Fallacy still has to give up their position and their qualification?
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty fair. I mean, I think back, like, yeah, it's an accusation, but it's like it kind of makes like I think it's good that they auto DQ them because it's making like a statement, right? You use obviously if these accusations aren't true, then it kind of sucks for them, but like you're making a point out of one team, and so this probably never happens again, which is something that I think is going to be super good just for the scene in general. So I think it's completely justified. My only concern is like I don't fully understand the situation. But from what I'm seeing in like these keybinds, like that's fucking insane that these guys are mid game changing their keybinds and mapping. Like that's insane that you take the time. Like, are they taking tech pauses to change all these settings? Like that's some real shit dedication. I'm still sitting here dumbfounded that you're doing this mid fucking game, which is insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the clip in itself, if you ever find it on social media, there's like, you know, no audio coming from the person that's really clutching and stuff like that too. So, you know, we have a lot of Reddit detectives that even tries to figure out how, you know, a team could win LCQ. So I wouldn't be surprised if this comes out too as tweet longers. And this is actually a nice little quote as well from Sapphire, because if you guys don't know, Sapphire is a very known Counter-Strike Go and also Valorant observer, tier 1 observer. She talks about her boyfriend and her brother, where in the past when she was playing, because she was also a pro player in Counter-Strike Source, playing for a team like Powers Gaming. Her husband is Volcano, who is now a lead designer in Valorant. Her brother is basically Juan, Team 3D Juan, that has played professionally in Source as well. So when it comes down to seeing Heather being able to put like the big plays online, there was a lot of those forum trolls that came out and accused her of account sharing and allowing Volcano or her brother Han to play in her place. But thankfully here, Heather has a huge history of LAN events that she's played in and that she's dominated as well. So that is one thing that's going well for her. But I do agree with her with, taking advantage of what's going on here and what we're creating for this community, and taking advantage of that could definitely take a step back here for Valorant in itself. So that kind of sucks. TLDR, guys, don't do that kind of shit. Let's make sure that we support.
Don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Support the communities in the right way. So let's go on and move across the pond in other news here. As most recently, we have Link that has been announced actually as a new 5th going into the roster for Team Ascend. Link joining Ascend means that Zeke will officially now be stepping down from the roster. So Sully, starting off with you, saying that you've watched a lot of VODs. Your thoughts here? Will Link actually make the difference for Ascend, where they could get into the champion status from 2021?
Fans, of course, he's bald. Like that. Like there's no question that there's gonna be some crazy buff now. Like Link, I think fundamentally, I was watching back this announcement video and I got really sad. Like I was like, damn, I remember the Liquid days. Like this is such an OG roster. I think obviously I'm really happy because I know Zeke has been going through some stuff mentally. I know that he made this post a while back, so I'm really happy that he finally gets the opportunity to like take the break that he needs. And so having Link step in, he's a super powerful player. There's absolutely no question about that. And I think that if anything, the time, I don't know exactly like how long they've been integrating Link, but if they've had the time, obviously LCQ is just around the corner for all regions. If they've given the time and they've been able to integrate him properly, I think this just bolsters the Ascend lineup. And hopefully, I don't like EMEA because I love NA so much, but hopefully we can see them maybe return to a champions form, come around towards the end of 2022.
Yeah, so is this literally the missing link, Liz, in your eyes?
I mean, after you set me up for that, I have to say yes. No.
So sweet.
I mean, I've spoken to Link before. Very kind person, great player. Obviously, I think Sully hit on that. He's extremely talented. And yeah, I think Sully was also kind of hitting on. We haven't really seen Ascend quite in the form that we know them to be. And I am very excited to see how Link not only steps up, but also like what he adds to the team. I think also like just like his demeanor and just like his personality, I think is also a great addition. He's very fun, very kind, as far as I can tell. And so I think beyond just his prowess mechanically, I think he just also is like a great addition to the team to have as like you always want someone who's like cheerful and fun. So not always so serious. I'm a very serious player. No, I'm not.
I think we all are serious when we play ranked. So
a little too serious at times.
Sometimes maybe.
And that's it. So Link has a great opportunity right now with the Ascend Club. They're going to be playing within the LCQ coming up within the next weekend. So we'll see how that's going to go. And mind you, Link actually never really got cut from the Liquid roster either. This was a decision that he made actually to step down from the roster due to like maybe differences in the vision of where the team was going strategically, which was also something very similar to why Sliggy also stepped down from coaching into Team Liquid. So mechanically, as you mentioned, Liz, no big changes for Link. I think he's also going to be a great addition to Ascend. I mean, a player that's been playing very well and as a breach as well for Liquid on LAN. A good flex player, so we'll see how that's going to go. I think it's a great fit onto this team. And now it's time to give a shout out to another one of our homies actually that's supporting us within the stream for today. It's going to be Juke.gg. So Juke.gg, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I know we have you, Liz, so conflict of interest. Let's talk about it with Sully. Sully, do you have Juke.gg as an app here on your phone?
Listen, I'm an OG. I'm actually an OG. I got the OG Sully tag and everything. I heard about this. I
Hell
was like,
yeah.
I hit up my boy. I was like, yo, I gotta get the Sully tag. I'm tired of Sully cast on Twitter. You get this Sully tag. And honestly, like, I'm not someone that actively uses like these social medias to stay up to date. But I love Juke so much because they just give out like little push notifications for super important things. And I'm like sitting in class. I'm like, well, fuck this. I don't care about calculus. What happened over at EMEA? Let me check this out. That type of thing. So I personally love and use Juke a lot.
Yeah, same here. I think same boat as you. Shout out to Fish Sticks and also to Chad. That's been also the owners here of Juke.gg, creating that social platform, helping me being able to get a little bit of a tag that I don't have on Twitter, but I also have on Juke.gg. So thank you for that. But also, I love the fact that I could follow everything on Juke.gg. So that in my notifications, I could actually follow the scenes that I want and actually getting some news. I think the latest one was what was it? Brand Esports CEO being charged for smuggling up to like $30 million of drugs. And apparently this drug is called shabu. And at the same time, I was like, wait.
Shabu.
I was about to say, isn't this like a Japanese hot pot? But unfortunately, it's not. It's methamphetamine and caffeine. But I don't want to get into the details of drugs. I just want to give a shout out to Juke.gg for creating such a cool platform that's also not toxic for the community and for you to be able to follow your closest scenes. So make sure you guys give them a follow and create a profile because they actually have a new feature as part of their LCQ coverage coming out over the next few weeks. So make sure you check it out at juke.gg to get all the information around the LCQ. So with that, let's move on to the continuation of the roster moves. This one, a little bit less familiar for me here. Sully, I think you followed the scene a little bit more within like maybe potentially the tier 2, but the first one is Vapin joining Cloud9 as an assistant coach. I want to know your thoughts on Vapin. Is he going to make a difference here for C9? Because, you know, they haven't been looking so hot most recently.
True. That is true. I mean, I don't know exactly, like, again, this is like a big question. Like, when was he actually integrated as like an integral part of the staff system? And so obviously Cloud9 are a team that I think if you guys look at I think it was the MCT Esports League or whatever it's called, they made a lot of comp changes, right? And it feels like stylistically, they're making a lot of changes as well, a little bit more aggression, right? You look at their statistics and how fast they like to play. There's definitely been a little bit of amp in terms of how fast they want to play. So I don't know when he's been integrated, but definitely I hope at least coming for the LCQ that he's been able to put in work, help these guys kind of up their map pool. Right now, I think their map pool is nowhere near as strong as it once was in comparison to all these other tier 1 teams going to LCQ, right? I definitely want to know, okay, now that when that first match happens against Shopify Rebellion, have improvements been made, right? What's the map pool going to look like? Has Bind finally been resurrected from the depths of hell of the Cloud9 map pool? Has Breeze finally been fixed after they got slaughtered like 13-2 against version 1? So a lot of questions as to what he's going to do. I don't know him personally. I don't exactly know the experience he has. I stalked his Twitter a little bit because I'm a teenager and that's what we do. In a pro player, I mean, he's also fucking bald. So I hope that this adds something else as on a Cloud9. But everything for me is kind of just speculation right now.
No, for sure, and I agree with you. I've watched the MEL Valorant and seeing C9 lose 13-2 on Breeze. When you actually saw Leaf play so well on Breeze before and playing on Neon, we'll see what happens for the LCQ. Maybe you got some stuff cooked up. They're trying things out, but also teams. Another team that's going to try things out is also Team Fusion of Valorant because unfortunately, as you can see here, Jovi was let go here from Optic after his trial from the Masters 2 run. Has done a great job during Masters 1 as well, of course, helping Optic win over with Chet. But now over in South America, we're hoping that Jovi can make a difference so that we could see a team like Fusion make it into champions. So your thoughts on Jovi joining Fusion here, Liz?
I am excited. I was really disheartened to see Jovi dropped from Optic. I think he is a very smart, I'm trying to think of a word, like kind of like a just all-rounder of Valorant. He understands like what good Valorant is beyond just like good mechanical plays. Like how are we going to run this round? And I obviously we don't know the details of what happened with Optic, but I think any team that has Jovi just has an immediate advantage because it just seems like he works so hard and has such a great mind for the game. And I think Fusion struck gold. That's what I'm gonna say.
For sure. Yeah. I'd like to quickly add that their first matchup is against Furia in their LCQ. So it's gonna be a super big test for Jovi as like the new coach. Like, okay, is this edition gonna push them over the line? Also, like I don't know what's going on, but I swear like Fusion is just poaching every single North American like talent. Like, first it was D-Cop from TSM Academy, then it was Torfire from like Zero Marksman, and now Jovi. So I think that's a super stacked roster, and adding Jovi just it gives them so much more depth as well.
Yeah, and this is going to be a very tough task too because Furia just picked up DGZine most recently into the LCQ as well, so even that roster has been popped up. So let's see what happens going into the LCQ of South America. And with that, it's time to go into other news where I want to start. Yeah, let's start stirring the pot. So Shanks finally announced here to FaZe Clan, but it seems as though from the announcement that he's more going to be a content creator. But who knows? LCQ is around the corner, and Shanks. Yes, the introduction showed some cool and funny aspects. But do we think that we could see some Shanks during LCQ, Sully?
All right. So I'm gonna make the joke again. He was bald. He was bald. For a little bit.
Jesus Christ.
He was bald for just a little bit. So I think that there's definitely. Listen, 3 teams are picking up 3 bald people. There's something going on here. And we got.
So you shave your head halfway on the side too. Remember you did like
exactly.
Like
I had
skin
a
fade
for a
mullet.
Bit.
Yeah,
it's going to look like the bald isn't the move apparently. But I mean, let's be honest. This is literally all complete speculation if Shanks is ever gonna play any portion of any match for FaZe Clan.
Yeah.
I think the chances are extremely slim. Maybe he's mid ball up again and they need a stand-in. I've got no idea, but I think Shanks. Honestly, I'm super happy for the guy. I think he's one of the funniest content creators we have in Valorant, and honestly, one of the most engaging. And so, if he doesn't add anything, all he adds is good laughs. And like, even if FaZe, I feel like even no matter where FaZe plays, I'm gonna enjoy the run that they have purely because of Shanks.
Well, with that, you know, we had a couple of roster changes where it's analysts joining here and there, but apparently we also have some other analysts that are actually able to maybe even figure out a way that Optic could have won Masters going into Masters 2. So let's actually have a look at this because I've actually haven't seen it. So Prius retweets this over from a post from Reddit where the strategy coming in from Optic to be able to win Masters could have been, and let's read it. This is an off-topic question, but I'm serious. Let's say that it's the finals on LAN map 5 in crunch time. If Victor starts kissing FNS, not a single opponent will be watching the game, leaving Ye open for an easy ace. Would Victor and FNS be punished for this, or would the round count? The rules are vague, but point to no unsportsmanlike behavior, but I don't see how this is unsportsmanlike. It's just the most uncharacteristic thing ever. What say you guys? So Liz, I'm going to bounce it over to you. What say you?
Not a lot right now.
I think I know why Jovi got dropped. This
is Reddit, you done it again. Listen, Reddit, if you aren't signed by tomorrow, I don't know. I think it asks a good question because I think Riot might need to go back into their rule book and like add a couple clauses here and there about distractions and what's unsportsmanlike. I think the issue with this strat, guys, is you're banking on the enemy team seeing this. Yeah. So like unless you were like, because you have to like stay in your seat and make sure you don't take off your headphones, right? Like in terms of just like space and like physicality, like you're running into a lot of different obstacles there. So like, but let's say that's all possible.
Yeah, like, but you know what you could do to add an extra layer on that strat is that you make sure that you run a flash comp. So that whenever you throw like a sky flash or a KO flash, so they're like, oh, I'm blind. So they look up and then suddenly this happens. They're like, what the hell is going on?
Huh?
And then, Ye comes in for the ace.
Chet calls attack pause and he goes, do the thing.
Do the thing.
But yeah.
Always in the back of his strap book is like this.
At least, yeah, that's part of like his pager that he currently has during the timeout. And then we get the camera view on the coach. Said big shout out to Reddit and of course the big brain analysis and analysts that we currently have on Reddit. But that said, actually to stay along the lines of the analytical minds too, you know, there's been an interview. There was an interview, with Benkai over at PRX at the end of Champions to explain a little bit about you know, their play style, their compositions. We all thought that it was whimsical and super funny and super awesome to watch. But is that the real way to play Valorant in order to make it into the finals of Masters 2? And let's have a listen and see what he had to say.
I would have to offer a word of advice to other APAC teams. I would say try not to copy other people and try to invent your own play style, because that's what granted us our success. And just try to look for something that's unique, because that's what we brought to this event. And clearly, like, it was catching teams off guard here and there. So you just can't really refresh anything that you see other people use, but more also you have to push your creativity to the next level if you want to get up there,
So, Sully, to start things off, because you're a person that continues to watch VODs and to study, and of course you're my esports son, so watching VODs is a regular thing. Do you think that in general creativity is driven by the players, the IGL such as Benkai, or the coaches? Who really needs to step up in order to continue to cultivate the melting pot of strategies here for a Valorant team?
I think it's players. Like to me, this is a no-brainer. Like, yeah, a coach can say, "Oh, go be unique, go be different." But at the end of the day, it's the players that are gonna be the ones that are different. I think of just traditional sports, right? At the professional level of football, like football, American football, and football across the pond. It comes down to the players, right? You'll be given the tactic, right? I think of like the greatest players in the world, like Lionel Messi. A lot of the individual creativity is just him with the ball, and that's what it is. I feel like in the server, those like split second decisions, the things that you do on the fly. A coach isn't going to be the one that like, oh, if this happens, make this split second decision that you need to create. A lot of the creativity is going to be from the players, because they're the ones that are playing day in and day out, and they're the ones that are understanding the game at that fundamental level. And obviously creativity is designed within a 5-man roster, right? Your creativity, this has to be unanimous across the whole team. Everyone needs to be like, okay, this is the style we want to play. And everyone kind of just falls according to a play style, and then that's where that individual creativity comes in, that creates those electric moments. Like, I didn't get to fully watch Paper X because I was at a JMU college tour. I had some stuff going on, obviously, but every time I tuned in for like literally like 5 seconds when I got Wi-Fi reception, I was like, well, holy shit, this is the most fun Valorant I've ever watched. Why is my team not playing like this? Like, what's going on here?
Everybody was pretty hyped about that for sure, being able to see PRX just throw something out of the hat and come out with some new things. And that said, Liz, do you think that is the way to go at this point? Should teams start to look at, okay, set place, agree, let's try to catch some teams off guard? Or with you doing a lot of watch parties most recently, is it looking at, should teams now focus more on fundamentals, training and stuff like that to run the basics in order to progress in Valorant?
I think it should be a mix of both. I think you would be fooling yourself if you didn't have great fundamentals, but also never let them know your next move. You know what I mean? Like, it's a meme, it's a joke, but it's true, because if you are predictable, you are going to be red and you lose 13-0. No, but I'm serious. We saw that with FPX. Like, they knew like PRX play defense like it's an attack round, and they will push out, so they just waited. And I was like, that was easy, and like it took a little bit for them to adjust, but it was so smart. Like, I'm from an acting background, right? I was a former actor, LOL.
Nice.
But like, when you go in for audition, you not only do you want to have good fundamentals of your acting, you want to make them remember you, because you're fighting. That's okay. We're not fighting. You're competing against. You're competing against many other people who probably are you and better. And so, like, how are you gonna make yourself stand out to the casting director, the director, the producer? And so that's how you win. Is you do something that is different, that cannot be forgotten, or in this case red, but also that is like fundamentally good. Like, you can blast pack your way up into like a heaven, but like if you are just gonna fall down to the ground and be like, surprise, like you're done.
Yeah,
it's cute, it's a fun clip, you'll get on Reddit, you're done.
I agree. That's what the community so far is like. Oh, well, even me saying that FaZe Clan could bring some sort of PRX style over to North America too, but if you look at the roster you currently have for FaZe Clan, can you actually run Jinx's satchels? Can you actually run the set plays? Do you have the right pieces to be able to run that? Potentially not, but hopefully we'll see what FaZe has cooked up here coming up with the LCQ coming up. But with that, let's stay within that region too. We talked a little bit about APAC. Now it's time to talk about China. We're in a different, a little bit of vibe here, and a change of vibe. There's been some scandals around match fixing. Oh, to surprise, it's happening in China. Basically, to summarize what's going on here in this paragraph is that there's been members of about 3 teams going into the Imba TV Fearless Invitational Cup that went through pre-match betting around certain teams that are currently playing, including players within the team themselves. And there's been some investigations that went through from Riot Games and also the organization itself. And I think there's a total of 13 players that have been banned, that's been handed a ban from like 18 months, 12 months, a year. And you know what? The thing is that it's something that's ongoing and that's been prevalent in a lot of the esports in China for different games, whether it's League of Legends, Valorant, and even going into Counter-Strike. And Liz, you've been a reporter for X amount of years. I would like to say even 20 years. Let's say you put 20 years into esports now. What do you think it's a great way to crack into all of this to make this a little bit more legitimate in esports?
It's it's interesting, no, that like no matter where you are in whatever esport it is, it's happening. I think my one worry is that I don't want like the fans and the community of Valorant to have the wrong idea of Chinese Valorant, because we haven't really seen Chinese Valorant compete at like a pro level yet. You can follow the Twitch, I will say that.
Yeah.
But the greater community at large hasn't really seen that. So I don't want a negative stigma to be there. I think when you're talking about cheating in general, like I mean, I'm a Yankees fan. I remember A-Rod cheating and it's kind of where there is competition and where there is winning and losing, you will find people who will do what they can to gain a competitive advantage. I think the important thing to harp on is that we will find out. If anyone out there in the world of competing, we will know and we will find out. It's the internet. Nothing stays hidden on the internet. And I can just say a word of warning. I think the thing we have to keep on doing is doing exactly this, like keeping people held, like holding people accountable for their actions.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of your deterrent. It was like, hey, this could be you. If you decide to be dishonest and you decide to cheat, this will be your future.
This is a tough part too, though, because Sully, you've been involved in like the tier 2 scene for Counter-Strike in North America for a while, and we've gone through this storyline of like not stream sniping, sorry, but match fixing within the scene in itself, and that's because of a lack of support that some players may have in their path to pro or their aspirations to get to pro, and maybe sometimes a quick buck turnaround versus a ban is nothing for them, because at least they'll still make those bucks and they don't care to leave that scene. So what's your take on this to try to help out this path to pro for the players who are actually trying legitimately to get to pro?
Yeah, I mean, I was literally thinking exactly that. Like I kind of like, obviously I'm not going to sympathize and say, yeah, go out and match fix, because honestly I don't understand why anyone cheats anyway. But yeah, I mean, like I was thinking, like it's like I feel like the Chinese situation for the esports scene is very similar to the tier 2 North American Counter-Strike scene. It's like there's a lack of funding, or like just period, and that's why there was that whole E6 scandal going down in Counter-Strike. And like obviously I'm again not gonna sit here and say go out and match fix if you're broke as shit, but like I understand, like from their point of view, like yeah, like if we don't have the support, we want to be able to do this professionally, but if we don't have the funds to like just live, then we have to make fun somehow. So like I understand obviously why they would do it. Don't agree with it, but still, for those that obviously are just looking in the Chinese scene, I was on Twitter one day. I remember looking at Slow, the Knights analyst. He goes, Edward Gaming is gonna win the APAC LCQ, and I was like, what the fuck? So I started watching some of the VODs. I was like, God, he might be onto something. So I still think there's a lot of hope for the scene in general. Obviously, this is a really heavy hit, and obviously, I think Riot did a very good job handling these bans, really lengthy long-term bans, even permanent bans as well. So just make a statement out of these players so that it never happens again, and hopefully this doesn't destroy the scene, because I don't want it to be another Optic India situation where Forsaken gets banned and I completely disregard the whole esports scene in India. I don't want that to be the case, because obviously there is a very big population in China that love esports, and there's bound to be hundreds of players that are immensely skilled. So I hope it doesn't destroy the scene, and I honestly don't think it will.
At least we have a Forsaken in APAC that's super skilled. That renders that a little bit there and saves that name a little bit more. But let's go back here to North America and have a little bit more fun with it too, and talk about the Scrim Bucks, because accidentally Tenz actually started streaming his practice versus FaZe on Split for a little bit, and we got to see maybe some compositional changes going on for FaZe. What are the little nuggets that we actually we're able to get out of this. Liz, I don't know if you're able to if you were able to see that clip, but if you haven't, let's have a look at it.
We got 2 ghosts though. Okay, where's the ghost? And I'm lucky. I ain't buying shit. I'll buy. I ain't get shit out of it. Look at me.
This is how I play now.
Market. There's one T spawn. I can nade market. You wanna be?
Wait, careful, Jordan.
Yeah.
They might run up on me.
He's in spawn.
I have a bucky. Just give me a second.
Everyone get one. Everyone get one. You got Spectre shots? Run at him. Yeah, can you get a heal? Go Sage. Shit's fire.
Yo, that's fucked up.
What? What's up?
I didn't get my one.
It's all good, brother.
So Liz, what can you take at least from this from the Sentinels' point of view?
Chamber.
Yes.
I used to be a defender of Tenz on Chamber. I thought, you know, different moving characters like Jet and Neon would be better for him. I'm excited to see him on it though, because I think a lot of people were saying like maybe things would be different if he were on Chamber. It's pretty standard stuff that I would expect for scrims. I'm just super excited to see Tenz on Chamber. I'm excited to see how that works out if they stick with that composition. In terms of the accusations of this being like a publicity stunt for franchising or a partner program, whatever,
Hilarious.
I mean, it's a hell of a risk to be taking as well. So it's a very, because I remember seeing the notification on my phone. I was like, it usually doesn't stream this time. That's weird.
Mhm.
I've been like going on, but I was playing Genshin Impact, and then someone in a Discord server was like, no, he's live, and he's and it, but I'm excited to see how the it's a funny tweet how if he will stick with the chamber because that is something that there have been a lot of accusations towards him and towards the team, but not putting him in chamber.
Of course.
So whether they're valid or not, I think that's subjective, but I'm excited to see if he sticks with it. And I miss Split, guys. I really miss Split.
Split is going to be a goner now coming up. But that said, I mean, we saw some changes going into Sentinels. And yeah, maybe a good thing now that we get to see Tenz playing on a chamber. But Sully, is this a bad thing for example, FaZe Clan? Because now you see that, oh, this is the comp they're going to be using here for a map like Split. I
kind of feel like that comp is like, it's meta now. Like, I feel like everyone should be expecting the teams they play against to play with comps like that. Obviously, no breach was like, when I saw that, I was like, wow, no breach. I was like, finally, no breach. Thank God. FaZe is just so much better for the info plan and whatnot. And so I think that FaZe, what's the like I don't think from FaZe perspective, they're like, what the hell? Like issue 10's a ban right now because we just leaked our whole composition. I think that, okay, yeah, you have the info of the comp, but Sentinels, they're playing the exact same composition. So it's a very similar, it's a very standard comp, I feel like. And so a lot of teams are gonna be like, okay, yeah, we kind of saw this coming already. Who really cares? So I think FaZe Clan don't really need to be mad at all. I'm at least happy that they've gotten rid of the Neon, because to be honest, I think Raze is just a much better pick for Baby Bay. But I think maybe teams are gonna speculate. Maybe they're like, oh shit, this comp is too good. Never play Split against FaZe Clan. But I don't think too much should be read into it in terms of like if this generates any beef or there's gonna be like any FaZe Clan bad blood between Sentinels. Because I feel like at the end of the day, it's like a genuine accident, and I feel like everyone's laughing at it no matter what.
Yeah.
At least watch out for Tenz on round number 2 if you're on an eco.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
this is how he plays now. This is how he plays.
It's a very loud Bucky.
Yeah, and at least that gives us some hope, right? As you've mentioned, there's been some compositional changes. Tenz is going to be playing the chamber. We saw Zelsis on a race. So I guess it gets to a point of where's our hopium here as we get into the LCQ. And I want to get into that. Thinking about Sentinels, or who do you think is going to take the LCQ overall? Is it going to be the Sentinels after all because of these compositional changes, or is it going to be another team? And I want to start things off here with you, Liz, since we're going to go from the top. Who do you think is going to take the LCQ overall?
Shopify Rebellion.
Shopify Rebellion. Justification.
Shout.
Give me why. Tell me why.
One, those are my boys. 2, I think they have had enough time to fix what went wrong. I think they're an incredibly solid team. And I think they have the fire within them. I think they've been handed a really crappy couple of cards this past few months. And I think they, not only mechanically are they incredible, like be dog, be god.
That's true.
And just I think, you know, they don't do anything too risky, which is not meant not like the worst thing in the world, but they play very smart and they're very mechanically gifted.
Mhm.
And I think just overall, they have the best shot. But I also love a lot of other teams. This is really, really hard, but I'm going to choose Shop.
The nature of LCQs, the nature of last chance qualifiers. I mean, we got what 10 great teams that are going to go head to head here within the bracket. So it's very tough to predict, but you know that's why we have these jobs. That's why we're doing it. So Sully, you've watched a shit ton of VODs.
Too
and
much.
realistically, do you want to go storyline or do you want to go based on your knowledge by watching VODs? Who do you have?
Listen, I'm going storyline, and I'm not going Sentinels because I honestly do not think Sentinels stand a chance getting out of round 1. To be honest,
Really,
that's just
against
my
the guard?
opinion.
Wow.
Okay,
That's just my
okay.
opinion. I think they get dropped the lower bracket again. I think Shopify Liz is onto something. They beat Cloud9, and then Sentinels get thrashed by Cloud9 in lower bracket. But I'm going FaZe Clan, and this is
Oh,
there's very like let's say I watched that Scrim League. I VOD reviewed that Scrim League about 100 times already. I've been in the dungeon for too long. But I'm inspired. I've been inspired by Paper Rex, and I watch Paper Rex and I go, dude, this style it's just like if you're not ready for it, you can't do anything about it. And I hope that FaZe, they have that tempo, they have that speed, and I feel like they have the coordination now under Fly to make that kind of stuff happen. And so for me, I'm on this FaZe Clan train mainly because in my ranked games I int with Neon and Raze, but at the same time I know this fast style. North American teams will struggle with it. Every team in the world has struggled with that kind of style, and I think FaZe kind of made this insane growth spurt. Like there's a graph, it's just like this giant curve towards infinity. Like they are growing consistently, and I think this offseason, FaZe Clan, a lot of work has been put in, right? They obviously had Zach as a new assistant coach alongside JDM. There's so much support to FaZe Clan now, and obviously don't even get me started about Shanks being bald joining the roster.
Yeah,
but I think
he's
FaZe
ball
Clan,
buff.
their style is going to be incredibly difficult to deal with, and I think that putting Baby on an agent like Graves, where he has so much technical ability outside of Neon, is going to be super interesting. And I think that FaZe Clan, they're going to turn a lot of heads here, and I'm super excited to see their style come into the actual effect in the LCQ.
I just love how you actually base yourself on FaZe when you're playing your ranked games, and you just tweeted earlier today about losing 12 ranked games in a row.
I know.
So that doesn't say much for FaZe Clan, but if I'm going to have to predict a team, I know I went on socials and I talked about Sentinels all the time, and I'm basically playing and memeing around with it, but I'm actually going left field with this as well. I actually have Energy winning LCQ. So I have Energy versus EG into the grand finals. Apparently from the Scrim books, Energy's been doing very, very, very well. Most recently in their scrims. I know they have a harder side of the bracket too, alongside with EG, but I definitely do think that these EG's gonna have like one of those lower bracket runs because of the nature of the bracket, and Energy's gonna be on that run because they've had a great scrimming session in the past few weeks in boot camp going into this event right here. So this is going to be fun to actually watch, and hopefully I'm right and continue to be right on my predictions. But with that, I mean, we'll have plenty of time to talk about it because we talk about our team that's going to be able to win LCQ, but we'll have a chance to actually deep dive into every single one of these teams coming after the break. But before we have that break, we also still want to give that big shout out and thank you to Twitch.tv for helping making the show possible. So thank you for your monies, Twitch, and continue to give it to us here over at Do Not Peek for Valoranting. It's time for that break, and when we come back, time to break down LCQ NA.
If you're enjoying Valoranting, feel free to follow us on our other socials. We're over at Twitter at Valoranting, and of course, every Tuesday, 11 a.m. PT, we're live on twitch.tv/DNPeak.
Welcome back, my friends, to Valoranting, and yes, it's now time to get into the nitty-gritty of LCQ in North America, and yeah, man, let's dive right into it. I think we have, what, I mentioned 10 teams before. I might have been off. Let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at the brackets, see what we got going on, but there's going to be a lot of action happening over the next 2 weekends to see who's going to be that single team that's going to win LCQ and go to Champions to join Optic Gaming and also XSET. And by the way, I'm gonna go on a small tangent here. XSET and Optic Gaming. Do we think those two are the best teams to represent North America out of the 12 teams that are going to represent North America, possibly here for Champions?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think Optic is I mean, there's not even a question about if Optic is the best of the best in North America. I still think they're the best in the world. I don't care what anyone
Yeah.
says. FPX, yeah, okay, good shit, man. But let's see if you do it again at champ. So I think we've got right now the 2 best teams in North America. You know, I'm gonna say it outright because I'm wearing where's the patch? I'm wearing a USA shirt right now. We got the 2 best teams in the damn world going to champs right now. So
That's
that's
awesome.
That's just me.
So if we have to go into the 3rd best team in North America, now Liz, we're gonna revisit that because you mentioned that it was gonna be Shopify Rebellion that's gonna be able to win this all, and you know we have a look at the bracket right now. They're gonna be playing against Cloud9 to start things off. What's your take here on Shopify Rebellion on the deep run? Now that you get to see the bracket with everybody else here, does it make sense? Is your prediction right on cue?
I mean, it's mine. I think honestly, Shopify. I mean, Cloud9's their biggest test, in my opinion. And so they face Cloud9, win because of Shopify Rebellion, and then they either facing Sentinels or the Guard. I think that's easier for them, regardless of who it is. And I love my boys over the Guard and also in Sentinels. I think Shopify are looking very good. And I'm excited to see how they're going to play. And I think from there, I think it's hard to stop that momentum. I don't see them dropping. And I think that's going to be a full run.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a bold girl. But I'm really excited to see them perform. Because I also think, I mean, I also could be wrong. And the reason I could be wrong is like, we haven't seen a lot of these teams play. We've seen some of them in some like 3rd-party tournaments, but kind of when push comes to shove, we haven't seen a lot of these teams. And so what could they be cooking, And I think with the time and the resources that they have been given, I expect Shopify to go far. And I'm rooting for them all the way. And so I think
I mean, even then, you're looking at B-Dog that has had like a lot of good success playing as a chamber for this roster, but the storyline every single time that we talk about Shopify Rebellion now is yes, B-Dog is able to frag out, but if B-Dog cannot frag out, most recently it's Mata that's able to step up, or it's going to be Tig. Do you think we're going to still follow that same storyline here, Sully, looking at this roster for Shopify Rebellion? Because if we are, and B-Dog and Mata have a bad game, then they're basically out of this tournament.
I feel like it's impossible though to say that both B-Dog and Mata will have a bad game, because I remember when I got to cast when they were LG a while back in, I think it was stage 1 of this VCT circuit. I was looking at it, I was looking at the stats, I was like, there is not a single game where both of these guys are negative. Like, it's almost physically impossible to have both these guys go negative in KD or have lower than a 230 ACS. Always one of them is going to step up. And so I think on the rare chance that it does happen that like B-Dog and Mata just absolutely shit the bed. I mean, Moose is still like a nutty player. Like when he was playing KJ and now that he's playing Smokes more recently, I think in their compositions, I mean, he's still just as good. Same thing with Tig, same thing with Dazzle. I mean, I feel like of these 5 players, this is one of the heavier teams when it comes to firepower in terms of individual ability and decision making. It's some of the best right now, I think, in this bracket. That's why, yeah, I was kind of agreeing with Liz. Like, I think Shopify Rebellion, definitely one of the top teams. Do I think they're going to win? I still got FaZe Clan, I'm not going to lie. But I think that they're a very capable team that is going to do a lot of damage in this upper side of the bracket.
Yeah, one thing that's good as well for Shopify Rebellion, along I think every single team actually going into LCQ have a place where they're currently boot camping in. Shopify Rebellion have like the whole facilities over in Toronto and Canada, so
they got
we'll
money.
See how that how is that land buff gonna happen here for the team. But to stay on this topic of Shopify Rebellion and moving a little bit further down the other teams, Liz, as you mentioned, Shopify Rebellion to win it all. Who's gonna be the team that they're gonna face off against, and why is this team gonna make it that far?
Oh man,
in the grand final, sorry, is what I mean.
In the grand finals,
this is the hot seat. This is the hot seat.
We're putting everybody on hot seats today. This is how I run the show. This is how I run the show.
You know what? I'm gonna join you in NRG.
Okay.
I think NRG can do it.
You know what's crazy? She was just talking about how Sully. You're right. FaZe is nutty. And now,
okay,
now FaZe isn't even in the top 2.
But hear me out. I think where FaZe falter is that they don't play together with their aggression. I think there are a hyper-aggressive team, and they do kind of have like the quote-unquote PRX style in NA. I have yet to see them play together with their aggression and play intellectually with their aggression.
God,
their
I'm
aggression.
questioning every single pick I've made now.
But I think NRG kind of like remind me of Shopify. Maybe that's why I go for them, because they have the firepower, but they also have that I really look for plays and beyond mechanical prowess. I think they play together really, really, really well. And I think all of them are mechanically very, very good at the game. And so I think I was thinking about it after Vansilli was like NRG. I was like, yeah, that could be
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean, they have been stepping up to the plate a lot too, right? Energy most recently, and I think when you're looking at the regular season here, Sully, before going into Masters, before getting into playoffs, I think one of the players that really stepped up to the plate outside of Tex has been EU overall
Always
for this
been.
roster, right?
He has always been like one of the top dogs, I feel like, Vans.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's energy overall. When you're looking at this roster and you're thinking EU, you're like, oh shit, EU. Yeah, he is actually a really cracked player. But you look at the rest of the roster. There's Som, there's fucking Ethan, there's Tex. So how does that work? Like, what took energy so long until we realized, holy shit, these guys are actually a contender into the LCQ?
I feel like I've always thought like, dude, this is like individually they've got some insane firepower. Like when they had Android in, I was like, oh my god, like this team should be unbeatable. And then they just got destroyed in the open calls. I remember with Android. I was like, well, that's just absolutely tragic. Then they bring in Ethan, and there's just this crazy cohesion. And then you add Hayes. I'm like, what is going on here with NRG? Because I remember I was watching them, was like Liz was saying, there was some crazy team play that happens out of NRG, and it's everything feels like there's a purpose. Like there's nothing that's done on a whim. Everything's like premeditated. Like every kill is like, oh, I knew this player was gonna be, or like I know exactly what I'm gonna do. One person does one thing on one side of the map, right? And then immediately after, the other three players on the other side are doing something else as a reaction. So I mean, NRG, they have always had that firepower. They have that cohesion. I'm hyping this team up like they're gonna win the whole thing in LCQ. But I think NRG definitely could make a deep run, and I agree with both of you. They could be in the top two, but when you ask me who's going to be the top two, I'll let you know what I'm really thinking.
Yeah, these are the stats that you currently have from EU versus Evil Geniuses, not EU or Europe, but the player EU, of course. And, you know, I was going to mention that too. Against Evil Geniuses overall, don't forget here for Energy, guys, that within the playoff, they had a very good lower bracket run. Yes, they played against the guard that maybe wasn't the best guard that we've seen so far from Masters 1 or from Stage 1 to Stage 2, but they've beat the other two teams that have been on such a sick run throughout the season, being Ghost Gaming and also EG. And Ghost Gaming, I think for a lot of players and a lot of fans, we also thought that Ghost Gaming was most likely going to make it to Masters, was how good Kaplan's been working with the rest of the roster, how Nismo's been so awesome for the roster as well. So it's nice to see that Energy had some sort of like light at the end of the tunnel, some salvation, giving us a little bit more hope in going into the LCQ. But now let's go back and talk about one of those teams that haven't been the hottest, right? For me, it's the guard. And I feel that personally, it's because they haven't had the opportunity of being as developed in terms of their mechanical skills to follow into the meta. So Liz, what's your first take here for the guard going into LCQ? What do you expect of him?
I expect precision from them. I think that's what we were lacking, is a lot of precision. And specifically, I trust in MC. I don't think MC would send them to the LCQ without an insane game plan and without kind of really deep diving into where things went wrong. Also, they're looking for analysts recently. I think they believe they wasn't a job recently. And that's great for me. I love that. I love that they're really taking the Sentinels move, if you want to say it, like digging deep and trying to figure out like what can we do beyond, because they're all mechanically insane, right? You know, I think that speaking about the mechanical players, like who can clutch on which team, I think all of them have that ability. We've all seen crazy plays out of every single one of them.
Yeah.
And I think where we're really gonna get into it is like how they don't. I think where a guard kind of falters, a lot of people are taking advantage of how they played, and I think now they're gonna have the analysts, and now the MCs, like, you know, the guard father, if you will. I think I'm hopeful for their improvement in their precision moving forward. Do I love the guard? I love my boys over the guard. I think the guard, we love the guard. And I'm hopeful for their LCQ run. I don't know if they're gonna win, because but
They're basically one of the two only teams right now participating in the LCQ that have been playing in terms of like these tier 2 tournaments, as we like to call them as Mickey Meow tournaments. And you know, unfortunately, a lot of their games weren't streamed, especially going into the big tournaments of NSGs. But I mean, if we want to be scoreboard Stevens here, Sully, and we look at the compositions going on here for the guard, there's been some of them where, yeah, we saw some chamber here and there being more being introduced here into the roster, but overall, there's still a lot of Jet being played by Saya player from certain maps. A little bit of Neon coming out too, but as you could tell here, not the best results. Of course, they're going against Dark Zero has been undefeated ever since that roster got dropped. But do you think that the guard might face this issue where they're still having an identity crisis in their agent pool?
I'd honestly hope not, because I think that, yeah, the reason why they're kind of mixing up and like getting thrashed right now is because they're trying to figure out what they want to do. Like,
exactly.
I think Neon, one of the more critical picks on Haven nowadays. I feel like Jet isn't as needed. Like, I still always think when I think of Saya and I think of Haven, I think of that crazy Jet dash out of that Cypher case to get that 2K. But I mean, I'm hopeful that the guard, yeah, they've had this like crazy, like an anime rebuilding arc. An anime rebuilding arc is what I'm gonna call it. I'm hoping that they're lost right now, and then like you said, the guard father MCE is gonna guide them back to the light. He's gonna take his young ninja Trent back over, and he's gonna become an insane fragger. But I mean, it's an identity crisis right now, and that's the key thing. It's right now, and it's happening. This was happening weeks, months before the actual LCQ comes around. So this identity crisis, hopefully, it'll get solved in time to beat Sentinels again. I'm just very optimistic for the guard in terms of this identity crisis. Hopefully, doesn't last for too long.
And when you have a look at this too, I mean, Net's playing some chamber as well. I mean, we've seen some chamber from Net in the past, but you know, even MCE was mentioning that Net probably has one of the best breaches in North America too. So I have a feeling that I'm still looking at these scoreboards and I'm still looking at these comps, and I was like, oh shit, man, like having the chamber, great. But then you have, I guess a Jet on Breeze is okay, but then if they're not having a raise, I mean, you look at all the other scoreboards that the results from all the other games that they played, I think I haven't seen any of the raises most recently, and it feels like almost for me when you're looking at the current meta, as we're still playing the old patches for LCQ here, raise has been a prominent agent going into these matches for Valorant. So this is going to be a big question mark for me for the guard, which is why if they have to go head-to-head against Sentinels in the upper round 1, I think that Sentinels might have a good chance to actually easily thrash the guard if the guard has no changes. Why? Because if Sentinels continue to be as stubborn to not do any agent changes overall, then still head-to-head with old comps, I have to give it to Sentinels over the guard. And let's talk about them, actually. Sentinels, I think the biggest question mark. Liz, you said you've been watching a lot of streams here and there. I don't know if you're able to catch a little bit of Shroud streams. How's Shroud doing? How's Shroud doing right now with Sentinels? How's he doing as a controller?
I actually haven't watched a lot of Shroud streams. I've been tuning into Zelsis mostly, but from what I've
verified,
yeah. But I think from what I've heard, it's looking good. It's looking like he's really settling in, which is like one of his biggest jobs he has to do. I did a piece on theScore about Shroud joining Sentinels, and if I had to give this like giant task of Shroud playing competitive Valorant, fitting into this team, also a new player, because you know, Kampeki's no longer there and Sick is no longer there, I give it to Shroud. And I mean, I'm glad they weren't like, all right, Jet, have fun, Shroud, you know, kind of like be your entry. I think being controller is great for the team in terms of divvying up the roles in general. And so it gives me hope. It's also with Tenz on Chamber. I think from it's looking cautiously okay.
Yeah.
Is the way I'll put it. I guess we don't know.
I could definitely see that too, and I'm even going to put you on the spot as well here, Sully, because now that we're looking at, and I'm going to go through theoretically agent compositions that we might see here for Sentinels, right? And we love nerding about this kind of stuff, you and I. So you're able to see some chamber coming out of Tenz. We saw, for example, Raze being played by Zelsis, where we also thought Sick was going to be the one playing Raze, for example, right?
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of shifts going through with the roster changes, with the roster changes now for Sentinels. Where do you think Dapper's going to play now if Dapper's not going to be playing the chamber for the roster?
Right, that's what I'm thinking. I think one thing that everyone's overlooking is the removal of Sick just removes so many like critical agents that guy plays, and now it's like you have this crazy shift because Shroud is playing controller, where Sick was playing for a little bit of time, and Sick was playing initiator as well, and the second duelist. Like the removal of Sick is gonna shift this so much, and it's really hard to pinpoint where Dapper's going to go exactly. Because obviously, I think the easy thought is okay, well, maybe he plays a second smoker, a second initiator, or he's gonna play a second sentinel if he wants to play Cypher or Sage or whatnot. It's hard to pinpoint, but I think Dapper has to be now the flex guy, right? Is if you're gonna have Zelsis on Raze and you're gonna have Tenz on Chamber, and you hope that Zelsis is gonna stick to either playing like the second duelist or like I guess the main duelist now that Tenz is on Chamber, where he's playing like KO as the entry Sky time. Yeah, I'm thinking Dapper has to be the flex guy. Like there's no like he's gonna have to play the agent that unfortunately no one else is playing because Shaz is I think for the most part gonna be playing the initiator on Sova. That just makes sense to me. And then Dapper's gonna have to pick up. Okay, we're playing Bind. Shroud picks up Brimstone. Dapper picks up Viper. They're playing on Ascent. They want a second smoker, they want a second initiator. He's picking up like the Fade or the KO over, and Shaz is picking up the Sova. So I think Dapper is going to be the flex guy. He has to pick up the role that Sick once was, and I think those are ultimately massive shoes to fill, especially with a guy that was known as a Swiss Army knife in all of Valorant. So it's going to be difficult to pinpoint what agent he's going to play, but I think overall we're going to see his agent pool, I feel like, at least expand quite immensely.
Yeah, and I'm going to toss this up for both of you then, because we now feel that we've figured out the composition that we're going to be playing roles a little bit more comfortably here for Sentinels in that roster. So now that you're rethinking, you have time to think about it and be like, oh, these comp changes does make sense, and you still have players that are correct mechanically, and they actually have a deeper run.
Wait, wow. I mean, you already heard my point. They're not making it out of They're not making it past low round one.
You're not past lower round one, so they're gonna lose the versus the guard, and then they're gonna lose against whomever in lower round one. Is what you're calling her, Sully.
I'm with Liz on the fact that Shopify is gonna make a deep run. I think that I was like, damn, Shopify is they're just that team right now. Be God, mod of the man, they got it. I think Cloud9 are gonna serve Sentinels something nasty. I've got faith that. All right, I'm not gonna lie. The whole guard arguments make me thinking, okay, maybe Sentinels make me make one round. I cannot see them making any run deeper than lower quarterfinals. Like it's just very hard for me to imagine Sentinels making this crazy deep run unless Shroud is as good as he was back in CS, and this man is just hot all over. So I'm for the fact that Sentinels aren't gonna make it past lower quarterfinals. I'm more leaning to the side of lower round one, but I'm just gonna be. I'm the typical caster. I'd be pleasantly surprised if they do well. Pleasantly surprised.
Liz, you have something similar? Are you going to be pleasantly surprised, or do you have something more bold as well?
Again, Vansilli, I'm a bold girl. My whole thing is that they have an insane task ahead of them.
Yeah.
And also let's talk about who they've added as analysts. Weltis and Danny.
Yeah.
Danny knows Sentinels very well. He's played with them. And they said that they've already seen improvements. It's a tweet. I'm not going to take that at face value, right? So I think, but just the task they have in front of them is not only do you have to have Shroud get back to competing in like his tip top shape format, and like he said he was going to be living the game, which yes, that's what I would expect you to do if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Zelsa's moving over from version 1 to a completely different team, and then you have Shazam who has to IGL these new players, and then you have to have the other 3 players, some of them are gonna be switching roles, probably Dapper, to adjust these new people. Like that is a huge task to have and to put yourself in front of. Are they boot camping? Absolutely. And again, like these are like, I'm not gonna like congratulate them on doing stuff that they should be doing.
the bare minimum.
Yeah, like congratulations, you're working. Like I'm not, no, because like you should be putting in the work, and I expect you to put in the work. And I'm glad that they are, and they should be doing that. I think Sully is right. They have it's gonna be insane, and it's gonna be really, really hard to push past all these obstacles. Will I be pleasantly surprised? Absolutely. But I think you have if things falter and things don't work out, I also am not going to be surprised by that because it's hard and they're human, and it's like you're asking them to mesh and be in their literal top form
Yeah.
very quickly after they've literally formed their new team.
Yeah. For me, at least, though, looking back at the brackets, the potential teams that they have to play against in the upper round 2, right? So let's say they beat the Guard. When we talk about head-to-head and the Guard will be suffering mechanically, then technically Sentinels should be moving forward. And they're going to go head-to-head against or Shopify Rebellion or Cloud9. Shopify Rebellion, we just talked about before. If it's B-Dot that's not playing well, it could be Mata, but never both of them are going to play badly. Or very rarely do we see both of them playing very well as well for Shopify Rebellion. So there's a possibility that Sentinels could win that. But what about C9 here, Sully? Because C9, we just talked about it before, they haven't had the best breeze, and there's always that lingering question of, like, did they actually did the best move by actually by losing, Autumn and Zeta and bringing Curry into the roster? Have they finally found their identity after you were able to watch a little bit of that MEL in the tier 2 scene?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Cloud9, I'm gonna say it, it's still choppy, right? I was doing my typical VOD dungeon nights, the rib statistics. I'm like, well, Cloud9 have changed a lot, right? You think about it back in stage 2, towards the end of that group stage, and now going into the MEL, their attack pattern has changed a lot. They've given Leaf a lot more freedom. He's moved on from the Jet. He's playing now, I think, mainly Neon and Raze. And I think Cloud9, their map pool is strong, but those are two critical points that we were just talking about with Vine and Breeze. And watching back those VODs, I'm like, wow, this shit sucks. Like, I'm gonna be straight up. This is not a fun game of Valorant I want to watch right now. And so that weakened map pool, obviously, like we were talking earlier, they brought in a new coach or a new assistant coach. How much is he going to do to expand this map pool? Because you're going up against first Shopify Rebellion, which again, I'm still with Liz that they are an incredibly potent team, and I have them winning that game. I can't see a world where Cloud9 are going to come off of this tier 2 run in MEL and instantly they're going to be this insane team in the LCQ. I don't think that's a possibility. I don't think we're going to see the old form of Cloud9. It will take some time for them to get back into it, but it's not I don't think it's the worst thing to say that Cloud9 aren't going to make a deep run in like the lower bracket or something, because again, they've made changes that I think are starting to fit more accordingly to the meta. And with that meta, they are getting Leaf in a more comfortable spot. They're getting Zepp in a more comfortable spot. And Curry and Vanity are starting to have this really good synergy with their lurks and when they're both playing controller. And even when Zeppa's playing like KO, he's synergizing with the second initiator, that being Curry. So there's a lot of chemistry being built up between this Cloud9 team that I'm super happy to see. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're still a little bit behind. That's the only issue. And all these other teams are miles ahead of you right now.
Yeah, because even for me, like, when I look at C9, I love the boys, but it doesn't look like they actually...
I mean, they don't even have matching jerseys. Curry doesn't even have the right jersey on.
Maybe that's the reason why. Curry, just change your jersey back to match everybody else, and then everything's going to work out perfectly. But let's actually take a moment, because we just saw some B-roll here of Cloud9 versus version 1 on Pearl. I know it's not going to be used towards LCQ, but Liz, I don't know if you had a chance to watch this game or watch a little bit of Pearl at the competitive level, but I want to gather your first impressions on this map as a competitive meta. Is this going to be a map that's fun to watch, fun to play, fun to experience at tournament play?
It's going to require teams to outsmart each other. There's ample opportunities for lurks, ample opportunities for fakes. A bit of a rotation simulator, a little bit.
Yeah.
But you also have bind, which is literally like, whoa. So like,
TP.
Literally just or like but literally the circular. Remember the FNS stim?
Oh god.
Yeah, TP.
We like that one.
We do love that one. It's iconic. But I think what I really like about Pearl, it's gonna require you to dig deep. And it's also what I really like about it kind of acts like that sort of Breeze where it's an aimers map. So not only do you have to dig deep and find like what player is like, are you gonna stick to your instincts? Are you gonna think about this? Like, but you have to like hold those angles and make sure your headshot, no body shot barrier is like allowed here, because it's kind of the best of both worlds. And I think that it's gonna be a true test of Valorant. Like the gimmick of this map, it has no gimmick, which I loved when that came out, because I was like, thank God, like, it's just truly like who can get control, who's gonna buy into this, like, and so it's gonna be really interesting to see at the competitive level. From what I've seen, it's definitely a lot of mid control, I believe, that's being taken first. So it's kind of like necessary. So That's what I've seen. I don't know if Sully, in your VOD dungeon, if you would agree with me or disagree with me.
Yeah, I
But
think for sure. Like this map is so heavy. It's very heavy to mid side. If you can go in the mid side, especially on the attack, like I think this map is like unbelievably defensive side. Like its gimmick is being shit.
Mhm.
It's being shit.
Yeah.
I hate this map so much. And that's when you said there's no gimmick, I was like, what are you talking about? This map is. I hate this map with a passion. Like, I remember, but at the same time, it's like I remember I was VOD reviewing the Cloud9 versus Version 1 Pearl match, and I was sitting there, I was watching Version 1, and I was watching Cloud9. I was like, this map isn't as bad as I first thought. And then I hopped into my ranked game, and I was like, well, I was playing Viper and Sage. I don't think Viper's really needed. Let me play Astra. And Astra is just so good. And like I feel like that's how I felt about every single map. It's like Fracture, I was like, this map sucks. And then pros make the meta. I'm like, oh, this map isn't as bad as I thought it was. Pearl isn't as bad as I thought it was. So I'm in the same boat, like watching them and understanding, okay, this mid position is probably the most important part of this entire map. And now I'm understanding how this map works, how teams are going to be playing it, possibly what agents, like I'm theory crafting these agents and how valuable they can be. Like for the first time ever, I watched and I was like, holy shit, Cypher is actually like kind of OP on a map. And he's really strong in this map.
He's back.
So like I'm excited, like overall, just to watch what everyone does on Pearl and what exactly the new meta is going to be. Obviously, we have it for LCQ, but going into champs, I think we have it. So I'm gonna be like, that'll be awesome. And yeah, all right, fans. All right, man. Cypher's kind of good. Cypher's kind of
I mean, I'm along the same lines that I actually don't really like Pearl because I don't like maps where you need a Viper to split a site and try to plant. That's why I don't like Breeze watching it. That's why I don't like Icebox. But I was also watching Sliggy's stream too, and he brings a really good point. Is that Pearl is one of those maps where on defense, you don't really need to fight for map control. Whenever you're starting the map, you already have a defender at Art. You already have a defender at B Halls once the barrier comes up. You could already stack 2 players inside the A site or 1 player towards the B side, most likely a chamber that's going to opt down towards long B. So you don't really need to have anybody that fights for control on defense. You're rewarded by just sticking your angle for the whole minute and 45 seconds. And hopefully, if you win your battle, then you win the map. But this is also very, very highlight, like not being able to see the evolution of how this map's being played yet. But first impressions, I definitely do agree with that point, saying that you're not rewarded on the defense to be able to win your rounds. So we'll see how that's going to pan out once we get into champions, because of course that's not going to be played during LCQ. So let's focus on LCQ though, to get back at it, because Liz, you've mentioned here that FaZe is actually one of those teams that are actually, you know, not taking advantage of the 2 players that are playing a little bit more hyper aggressively, being Baby Bay and Dicey. So, Sully, do you agree with that? Do you think that FaZe Clan are lacking that a little bit more, and that they're missing that mid layer to be able to win their maps or win their rounds?
You know, I mean, I've got FaZe Clan winning the whole thing, so it's hard for me to point out any flaws. But I'm gonna just say this: I am in agreement with that synergy and kind of the lack of understanding of like, okay, I'm being aggressive. I need all you to be aggressive as well. Like I do kind of see that at times with FaZe Clan. It's like, yeah, the synergy isn't always going to be 100%. Like maybe Paper X is. I still think Paper X maybe not even perfect, because sometimes I think they overextend themselves. Same thing with FaZe Clan.
Absolutely.
But when they have that chemistry, when they're like all on the same page, and it's like some haiku, like let me do a back set crazy hit, like everyone is on the same page. This team is, I feel like at times almost unbeatable, and we saw really good highlights of that in the last group stage and playoff for VCT. So I think that again, this is like a training arc for every single team that isn't playing tier 2 events. Work on that synergy. And I think a FaZe have put the time, because it's easy to point out their flaws, but it's not easy to fix. And now that you've got Zek and you have Raucus or not Raucus at the helm, JDM at the helm, it's gonna be like this FaZe Clan team has got so much support that it's easy to point out these flaws, and hopefully it's a little bit easier to fix it, which I felt was something they didn't really have. They weren't able to easily fix their flaws, but now they've had this time and this support staff. They should be able to fix these issues, and we should see, I would say, a peak version of FaZe going into LCQ.
Liz, you think it's still not enough what Sully's just mentioned?
I was thinking when we were talking about Pearl that it rewards teams like FaZe, like kind of that overwhelming factor, right? FaZe is very good at overwhelming you. And they will also punish your aggression because they are aggressive. And what I really liked about, I think what Sully is harping on, which I agree with, is like when during the playoffs, we really kind of saw them maturing, and we really saw them, you know, really playing together. And that last map could have been anyone. Unfortunate how it turned out with the delays and the tech issues. But I didn't know where that was going to go. And I think, Flya coming in, also kind of like adjusting. And I think there's a lot of room that they have to kind of fix these issues that we're talking about. Absolutely, it's possible. And obviously they're scrimming and they're practicing, which is great. I don't know. Because I think the more, how do I say this without, basically, I don't know if they are going to be able to gel together quick enough. Again, to steal a turn of phrase, pleasantly surprised if they do. But I think like kind of like slow playing, but you're together versus like hyper aggression but not playing together. I think the slow playing together wins every time. 9 times out of 10.
So are we kind of just sleeping on 100 Thieves and EG? Because when we look back, okay, I was gonna say, because when we look back,
you
at
haven't asked me.
stats,
You haven't asked me who's number 2. You haven't asked me who's gonna be in the finals of FaZe Clan yet.
Who's in the finals versus FaZe Clan?
I got 100 Thieves. Okay. I got 100 Thieves, and I'll tell you why. Because 100 Thieves. Let's be real here. Sean Gare's the mastermind. Put this team on the map again. He actually made 100 Thieves a viable team with the roster change that they had. Like, this team is like, I'm snapping. I'm like, wow. Him and Mike's have done an amazing job at getting 100 Thieves back on track and looking like an actual competitive team. Yeah, sometimes I'm sitting there like, okay, why are we playing Cypher? That doesn't make any sense. But it works. Like, everything they do, because we both know Sean Garris. He's an incredible mind, and I feel like everything they do is now with a purpose, similar to how NRG play. And it's like, again, mid of like a Haikyuu tournament arc. They got better and better as the games went on, back in those playoffs and back in group stage. So I think now that they've had these 6 months to develop and like refine everything that they've been doing, it's hard for me to say that this team isn't going to be a top contender. Like, I think about them, like 100 Thieves historically, they always start off not, and then they always come back and they play lights out and they play phenomenal. And I'm thinking that's the exact thing that's going to happen. You've given now this amazing support team 6 months. That's half a year to figure out what they want to do. And like, there's no telling what crazy comps, what crazy ideas. Is there going to be like, we might even see Austin up playing like Sova or whatnot now. He's played every single, like, we don't know what they're going to do, but whatever they're going to do, teams might, or no, not might, they are not going to be ready for what they have in store.
The thing that was a little bit more scary, though, when you were watching at 100 Thieves on their playoff run, was the lack of having, 1, operators, and 2, also having maybe a lack of chamber, because we saw Will play a little bit more chamber on maps like Fracture, but overall, he's most likely going to be playing a Jet. Do you think that if they stick over towards the same composition as they did during the main stage 2, Liz, that they're going to suffer the same issue going into LCQ?
No.
Okay.
Hot take. I think they're fine comp wise. I think they just, I hate using this, like, they just need a little bit more time. The one thing I know, I really loved the IGLing. I loved their plays. I loved the way they played. And I think they're great that, and they've even time to like just kind of like even be better there. It's going to be really hard to beat them there. Comp wise, I think they're fine. I think they're not playing anything that's too risky, because I don't think they're a team that really would thrive off of like a risk. And so I think them sticking with what they know and kind of like fine tuning these things and just kind of making sure that they have all their fundamentals down, their plays down, like their shot book goes deep and just they play well. I think they have a very, very, very good shot. I mean, like Sean Garris, DDK, Mike's like fantastic group of people to have behind you. And you also have a fantastic team of players who, again, like have time to kind of iron these things out. It's exciting at the same time. No, I think it's like also kind of like talking about all these like high stakes, but also it's really, really exciting to see 100 Thieves as like, I like to think of them as like a punishing team. They will punish the way you play, no matter if it's aggressive, if it's passive. They will read you and they will figure it out. We saw that time and time again. Yeah, when they were playing. And so that, I think that's what's going to help drive them if they do make it far. That's what's going to help drive them far.
Yeah, I mean, even 100 Thieves for me, though, my big question mark is, again, if the rumors are true, and then you actually do have a little bit more chamber being played by this team, meaning there's less Jet, that also means that there's going to be less like will creating space on a Raze or a Jet to try to play a pulse plant. And he had the highest stats of being able to play pulse plant for this team. So if they're actually playing a composition that's going to have less duelists going into this meta, then you're going to have to overwhelm with the best ability usage as possible in order to create that space to plant. If that's not going to happen for 100 Thieves, I think they're going to suffer going into the LCQ playoffs. So we hope there's going to be some of that work being done by Mike's, by DDK, and by Sean Garris, so that we could see this type of like set strats that 100 Thieves could do. But as they have the highest stats going into pulse plants and be able to get the plant down, here's one of the teams that we could talk about that actually had one of the best stats going into defense, and that's EG. And that's also another team that I feel we've been sleeping on a little bit too by not talking about EG whatsoever by anybody in the community that they would have a further one run, going into the season. So I'm going to toss the question up once again, whoever wants to take this first. Why do you think in the eyes of the community, EG is not talked about enough when they actually had like the triple initiator comp that actually beat Optic in a sense? That actually made Optic use that very comp.
Let's be real here. There was a good period of time where EG just sucked. Like there's no like I
well,
think
stage one they're 0-5. I get it.
Yeah, not even that. I don't even think they played necessarily like terribly during that. Like I felt like they were kind of an NRG situation, maybe a little bit, maybe not a lot worse than the NRG situation. I'm not gonna front on it, but like I'm talking like I just think there's a stigma. Like everyone remembers, like for me at least, EG will have this like name as the team that tried to do a co-op team. Like that's and people kind of just always are gonna think that, and that's unfortunate because you look at this team the way they play, like they are phenomenal. Like Potter has done some crazy shit with this team, and they have grown so much. But like that's just the thing. Like I don't know, maybe people also see it like this way. Like I love Xset, I think they're the world, but I always see them as that little brother that I'm always like, I love these guys, but there's always that chance that they like throw or lose around. And I like that's a stigma with EG right now. It's like this team is overlooked purely because I think they had that unfortunate phase, a big experiment that didn't work out with the co-ed team. But I think that's why a lot of teams or a lot of people just look over EG. It's just because there's just that weird stigma around them that's lasted ever since they finally made a deep run, and everyone's thinking, well, EG, like, yeah, they're good, but like they've only been good once. And like, you guys remember that time where they were dog shit and they had a co-ed team and it just did not work out at all. That's just the unfortunate truth, is that there's that unfortunate stigma around them, I think, right now.
Yeah, I mean, you had great players within Jogimo and Boostio that really stepped up during the stage 2 in terms of the fragging department. But even looking at the records of EG versus all the other teams, I think they beat Sentinels at some point. But when they had to play against FaZe Clan, when they had to play against the Optic, that's where they kind of fell short. So do we kind of think that EG might have a resurgence going into the playoffs here, Liz? Or is it just going to be maybe in that mid-run pack once again for evil geniuses on during the LCQ?
Yeah, I trust in Potter. If Potter, like as a coach, would be like, hey Liz, run 50 miles in 2 seconds, I do it. Like I trust her so much. I think she's incredible at the game. And I've spoken to her as well, and the way she treats her players and the way she treats this game. I think she said in an interview, I don't know if she said it with me or she said it with someone in a post game, like you define the meta. The agency she gives her players, I think, is super important. We talked about that earlier, about how players like create those plays and create those space, and what she gives her players and what she allows them to do to thrive, I think is excellent. I think going back to that stigma thing, like Sentinels haven't been performing well at all, but yet everyone tunes into their matches.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's what I'm talking about.
Like that sort of, I feel like the Valorant community has a memory of a goldfish from like 2 years ago. like it's like that's the only thing they remember, and it's it is what it is. Like it's popular, it's like it's the Valorant community. It's what they remember. And trends are trends. But I think I am super excited to see how Potter and the boys cook things up, and I'm excited to see what they do. I think they're a bit of a different story. I think they kind of are. They do gel really, really well together.
Yeah.
They do play really, really well together, and I'm excited to see. They're a giant threat. This LCQ, because of just how well they play together, and kind of that story, that resurgence. They've had time again. Like they're always talking about time. Time can be your best friend or your worst enemy, right? Yeah. And I think
Sorry, and I just wanted to cut you real quick because you talk about time being your best friend, your enemy here, Liz, and I think that's the story for all of these teams. We have 10 teams going into the LCQ, right? Starting this weekend. And out of the 10 teams, there's 2 that's used that time to actually play into tier 2 tournaments, while the other 10 teams are actually, or sorry, the other 8 teams are focusing on just trying to get some scrims in and just keeping their playbook under wraps. So for these 2 teams being the Guard and also for Cloud9, do we think they're going to be at a disadvantage? Because potentially now we have an idea of what they're going to be playing. And Liz, I see you shaking already, so I want to know your thoughts first.
I think Sully harped on it earlier that this is the best time to kind of shake that it's kind of like your warm up, right? Like you want to like see like, what is Saya going to be good on Neon? Don't want to find that out during LCQ. Like you don't want to discover that then. Like that'd be the worst time to do it. And because of course other teams have scrims as well. If this is the way that those teams operate by playing in those like quote unquote Mickey Mouse tournaments and those tier 2 tournaments, and absolutely that's your process.
Yeah,
you know, everyone has their own process. Everyone warms up differently, as an example. And so I think I don't see the Guard or Cloud9 at disadvantage, because also if you're a team and you're an analyst and you're a coach, the back of your mind is this could change. Obviously you're going to VOD review and you can do things like that, but if you are going to take everything at face value and say, okay, this is exactly how it's going to be, like this is the playbook, this is how we anti-strat, you think they're not doing the same thing for you, they're not going to think that you can adapt. Like part of the teams is like that sort of adapting ability. And so I don't think teams that do play in these Mickey Mouse tournaments have a disadvantage by revealing their strat book, because also my gut says they wouldn't be like, all right, boys, here it is, have fun. Like reveal it for everyone.
And my apologies, I can't count. It's 8 teams, not 10, of course. Thank you, Ian, for letting me know in my ears here. But you know, we talk about the you're not going to be at disadvantage by giving your strats away, but at the same time, if you're Cloud9 and you lost 13-2-1 Breeze, there's not really much that you could take out of it from a team that's going to try to study Cloud9, right? But Sully, I want to know your thoughts. Do you think these 2 teams are actually going to be disadvantaged by playing these tier 2 events?
I mean, I think like the easy thing to say is like inherently you're at a disadvantage because you are revealing your strats. But then I'm thinking about like historically, and I'm like, well, XSET played a shit ton of tier 2 events. They won NSG Winter Champs, and now they're going to champs, like normal champs, because they played so many tier 2 events. And then I'm sitting here like the Guard did the same thing. They were on the rise in NSG weeklies and nights events, and then they went to Iceland. Granted, they got first rounded, but like these teams that are playing the tier 2 events show tremendous growth when it matters. And it's like we were saying, Liz, it's like warm up now, like be shit now, but be great when you get into LCQ. So I think, yeah, inherently it's easy to say, yeah, everyone's at a disadvantage if you are playing these tier 2 events because you're revealing just a little bit of your hand. But at the end of the day, like I'm thinking historically, like every team that has grinded and played these tier 2 events has shown tremendous growth in the actual VCT. And like I always think of X as that prime example. The tier 2 nannies are now the tier 1 nannies, and they've shown that growth by playing through tier 2 events. So I mean, it's easy to say disadvantage because you're showing your strat book, but I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons when you look at it historically.
I mean, Ghost Gaming proved it during stage 2. The Guard proved it during stage 1. So there is going to be some sort of positive by playing these tier 2 Mickey Mouse tournaments there. And all that is going to unfold starting this Thursday in North America for the LCQ. So I'm looking forward to it, man. And I wanted to know, what are you guys doing for the LCQ? If not for the LCQ, anything else planned to give a shout out to as we're ending our show? So Liz, I want to start things off with you. First off, thank you so much for joining the show. But what you got going on here for the next few weeks?
So I'm actually flying to Canada to visit the folks over at theScore Esports.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
You can, if you're gonna be in Toronto, we can hang out. But we're going to be co-streaming Evo.
Oh, nice.
theScore Esports this weekend.
That's awesome.
I've never seen Evo before. I've always wanted to, so I'm super excited. I'm the only American on the content team, so I also get to go to Tim Hortons for the first time. Exciting. See your healthcare cards. Crazy.
Oh my god. That's awesome.
But yeah, that's what we're doing. And thank you guys so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, you did an excellent job, and it's been great having you on as well. And Sully, what you going on, homie? What you got going on?
Man, if this show was if this show was tomorrow, I could say. Can't say. You have to wait until tomorrow.
Okay. So we'll see. Make sure you guys follow Sully, actually at SullyCast there, so that we could follow the announcement going out there too. Liz, you're just Liz from theScore Esports, but where can we follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at EJ Marchini. So it's E, then J, then Marchini, because my last name is tricky.
And with that, we wish the best also for all the teams for LCQ in North America. Someone in the chat earlier, let me just scroll up and see. It's Zero Pro 24. Thank you, or TYTY was asking, is this a live show or is it recorded? We're actually live here, and we're live every Tuesday for Valoranting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv on this very channel at DN Peak. And for those of you that are actually listening to this on Avant on youtube.com/Valoranting, or also on audio only in our audio platforms such as Spotify, Apple, welcome. Come back next time. Come chat with us live, and we'll see you also on next Tuesday. So with that, on behalf of Sully, Liz, and myself, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.